We're going to look at questions 11 to 20 now. Question 11 concerns these lines that start off a kind of a flourish of misogynistic language from Iago in this scene. How does the simile used in these lines reveal Iago's reluctance to praise women and by virtue of his misogyny? He says, Desdemona asks him, "Come, wouldst thou praise me? How wouldst thou praise me?" He says, "I am about it. But indeed my invention comes from my pate as birdlime does from frieze. It plucks out brains and all." He says, I'm trying to, but my invention, my ability to invent praise, and i.e. the implication is that then it's false, comes from my brain and my head as birdlime does from frieze. So he's talking here about a particular substance that's used to trap birds, coming from this thick material that, i.e. it doesn't come off easily, it comes reluctantly. And that when it does, it pulls out all of my brains. So here he says, I basically cannot think of ways. I can't invent ways. My brain is not adequate enough to invent ways to praise you because it pulls my brains out, the attempt to do it. This is a highly insulting way of saying, I can't think of anything good to say about you. I don't have the creative resources to come up with something positive to say about you. So there's a real, a sense of misogyny and hostility in these particular lines. Further on, we have this very kind of almost a set piece of misogyny that we see that begins up here. She never yet was foolish that was fair, for even folly helped her to an heir. He begins these kind of rhyming couplets, these carefully crafted rhyming couplets that are cryptic and criticise women. Actually, it begins up here. If she be black and thereto have a wit, she'll find a white that shall her blackness fit. If she's sinful and has brains, she'll find a redemption for this that fits, that matches exactly her blackness. So we've got this sense here of, again, this colour symbolism that's used throughout the play to suggest virtue and vice, sin, redemption, corruption, redemption. Here he's actually criticising women. Even if they're morally corrupt and have brains, they'll find a way of making them seem virtuous that actually matches in intensity their moral corruption. And then he says, how fair and foolish. She never yet was foolish that was fair, for even her folly helped her to an heir. So there is no such thing as being stupid if you're good looking, because even your stupidity when you're good looking helps you to a rich husband. This is a hugely kind of insulting, reductive understanding of femininity. And this is where he extends these lines. She that was ever fair and never proud, she that was beautiful and didn't have pride, had tongue at will and yet was never loud, was articulate but yet not loud at the same time, never lacked gold and yet never went gay, had taste in dress and yet didn't go overboard, fled from her wish and yet said, now I may, showed some restraint even when it could be achieved, even when the desire could be achieved. She that being angered, so she that is angry, her revenge being nigh, with her chance of revenge being near, bade her wrong stay and her displeasure fly. Let the wrong that she is bothered about stay, made her peace with the injustice, and her displeasure fly, and got rid of her anger or despair. She that in wisdom never was so frail to change the cod's head for the salmon's tail. She that in wisdom didn't lack in wisdom, i.e. anyone with wisdom enough that wasn't frail, not frail wisdom, i.e. not stupid, to change the cod's head for the salmon's tail, to exchange a penis for a vagina. So there's a sort of, fundamental, sort of all-encompassing criticism of women there, that no one of them would be stupid enough to choose to be a woman. She that could think and ne'er disclose her mind, being capable of thinking clever thoughts, but not feeling like it's necessary to share them with everyone. There's this desire of him, or even if you are a clever woman, keep your mouth shut. See suitors following and not look behind, to see people looking for them and resist the desire to flirt. She was a wight, if such a wight were, and this word is very deliberate because it can mean a person, but it is usually a masculine description of a person, but it can also mean spirit or something supernatural. So the implication here is either that they are male or that they don't exist. To do what, Desdemona says, and actually they were brought up to suckle fools and chronicle small beer, to bring up idiots and clip coupons for alcohol. They're designed to work in a bar, basically, to supervise men getting drunk. Extremely hostile, misogynistic speech from Iago. Next question. How does Cassio again seek to remind Iago of his place in terms of social rank in these lines? Cassio says here, he speaks home, madam. You may relish him more in the soldier than in the scholar. You know, he speaks home. He speaks rough. He speaks the crude language of the soldier. You may appreciate him more in the role of a soldier than as a scholar. And what he's doing here is intervening and saying that his class and his courtliness is the only suitable way to exchange ideas with Desdemona, and that Iago is unworthy of that opportunity. And Iago understands this, because we'll see this in his next lines. In an aside, he says, reflecting on Cassio and Desdemona, he takes her by the palm. Aye, well said, whisper. With as little a web as this will I ensnare as great a fly as Cassio. Aye, smile upon her, do. I will give thee in thine own courtship. He sees the opportunity in this for the rest of the plot, that there's this kind of overt courtly friendship between the two of them that he thinks he can manipulate and lead Othello to believe is the basis for an affair. And this is the spiderweb metaphor that he uses in these lines, his intent to trap him. With as little a web as this courtliness that he keeps displaying to Desdemona is a small spider's web that I can use to ensnare a great big fly like Cassio, someone in a position of power. And he says, yes, keep smiling upon her, do it. I will give thee in thine own courtship. I will guide thee in thine own courtship. I will trap you with your own displays of courtliness. Then, further on, he develops this in this really crude, horrible language. He says, how does the language used by Iago remind us of the following? His understanding of the falsities of ceremony and courtliness, his wicked intent, his foul-mouthed resentment of those from higher positions in society. He says, if tricks as these strip you out of your lieutenantry, it had been better you had not kissed your three fingers so oft. If tricks such as these, if these ritualized courtly gestures that he keeps displaying towards Desdemona strip you from your position, you're going to regret having kissed your three fingers so often. I.e., you're going to regret all these courtly rituals of blowing kisses to women and displaying politeness towards them, which now again you are most apt to play the Siren, which frequently you are very good at pretending to be, a noble, polite man. And then he says, very good, well kissed, an excellent curtsy. 'Tis so indeed. He keeps watching them and criticizing them as they do this. Yet again your fingers to your lips, would they were clyster pipes for your sake. Now, clyster pipes are the apparatus used to administer rectal enemas or vaginal douches. So we're talking about things that people would stick in their bodily orifices in order to clean them. And he's saying, I wish your fingers were these things.